Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Morning Movie Show, Waffle Press Hangouts, whatever you want to call it. We're uploading in the morning, so I'm going to keep calling it Morning Movie Show. I'm going to put it in the same playlist, so it doesn't really matter. But here on this beautiful Sunday morning, I'm your host, again, Diego Crespo, with my co-host, Universa.
Hey, good to see you. Thanks for having me this morning, Sunday morning.
Yeah, it's so bright. It's so quiet, and it's just beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I wish that every morning was this beautiful.
Yeah.
You know what else is beautiful, Gene?
I don't know what else is beautiful.
I was just hoping I'd come up with a segue
Oh,
after I
just
said
like
I don't actually have
like
one.
what I think I don't know, like the poppies in the Antelope Valley.
Nothing related to the show topics today, huh? That's
Oh,
okay.
I
I
think
didn't
it's
have
really
anything either.
nice.
I'm not even like, digging here or anything like that. Let's see. We're talking about canceled TV shows today.
Yes.
It's not even a segue. It's just a state of fact. This is a great opening for the show. We're talking about canceled TV shows today because Gene and I have lost something very near and dear to our hearts. Not the same thing, but separate things. If you know me, you know that I loved The Dark Crystal: Age of Resistance, and I only saw the first movie a year ago, like the day the show came out. So that was very disappointing. It was a very short time time span I got to spend with all that stuff. Gene also lost the Venture Brothers, which he's been talking to me about for over a decade now. For basically as long as I've known you, Gene, you've been talking about Venture Brothers.
Love that
And
show.
yeah, and many people did, and many people were taken back by the tragic news of its untimely canceling. What is happening today? Blech. Gene, take it from here. What did you like about the Venture Brothers? Then we can talk about all this shit and our plugs, because we're going to do plugs at the beginning and the end of the show here.
Yeah. So we'll time travel back to 2006 when the second season first debuted on Adult Swim. I was young lad, and I've watched a few Adult Swim shows, mainly Aqua Teen, all the Space Ghosts, which I don't think anyone. I think Aqua Teen's very not everyone's cup of tea. Very divisive, right?
Yeah, here's what I know about Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
Yeah.
Is that I used to watch the Ebert or Siskel and Ebert before Siskel's passing, and then I watched Ebert and Robert. And on their review of that, I just remember them saying that the first 5 minutes are really funny, and then the movie just kept going, and it's hilarious. Now, the second thing I know about that show is about the Moon and Knight's crisis. Yep. I heard about that, and I also use this to announce that there will be a break after the Avatar: The Last Airbender retrospective leading into the movie, because it's finally going to be ready to go. That the Close Encounters episode will finally be up, and we talk about the Moon and Night bomb scare in that episode. So check that out. But please go ahead.
Yeah, that's a good segue.
With your journey.
But yeah, Aqua Teen's very subjective, and if you like dumb humor, I would recommend that to people. But I'm not going to go around recommending Aqua Teen to everyone because that's just off-putting. But yeah, Venture Brothers is a show I fell in love with back when I started watching the second season. I was watching it in the background. I'm like, what's the show? I remember all the promos that came out for it. They were very inventive. They really played up the Johnny Quest angle, which, if you don't know about the show, it's sort of a parody. Kind of starts out as a parody of Johnny Quest. So the characters are modeled after Dr. Quest, Johnny, Haji, Race Spannon. But that's just kind of the hook of the show, to kind of familiarize yourself, because when Cartoon Network gave licenses to a lot of Adult Swim things, when they started out, it was mainly like remakes of all their existing properties of Hanna-Barbera. They have like C-Lab, Space Ghost. But Venture Brothers, they kind of go off of that, and then I feel like it's maybe the only Adult Swim show that gets like so transcendent and going beyond its like idea, concept and kind of pitch, and it's like the show that's just it's more about like the 50s and just how, like, because it's mainly males on the show, how masculinity just like it's about like how it's really affected like the later generations of the American male, and how like the 50s and 60s, like all the baby boomers like really fucked up the next couple of generations and turned them into just depressed, sad people. And it's a show that's just about like failure and how just everyone's sort of a failure in their own way. And I'm kind of paraphrasing the creators, but how failure is also it's not inherently bad. I mean, everyone's just not good at some things, or we always suck until we're at least good at somewhat of something, and it's okay to like accept certain failures in your own life. Not just accepting yourself as you are, because yeah, that's what the main takeaway of that show was. When I was growing up, it certainly had a pretty positive message on me, like being in high school, growing up, things like that. And it made some feelings of being angsty or wanting to mature, kind of drove me in that way. And yeah, it felt like okay to just be myself. So yeah, that's kind of the theme of the show, and it centers on Hank and Dean, and they kind of start as Hardy Boys, and they become like their own like unique things. And it has one of the best voice casts, Patrick Warburton as Brock Sampson, who's just like a bulky mercenary that just like kills everything he sees. And then that goes back to just how the show like matures, where Brock becomes like a more well-rounded character, where he's almost like a surrogate father for the boys, whose father doesn't, I don't know, he cares enough, but kind of neglectful. So yeah, it's just such a beautiful show, and it's funny, but then just the heart of it I really appreciate as well.
Yeah, our friend of the show and just a great follow on Twitter, Shannon Strucci, is also on record as saying that it is actually her favorite show, and she's also recommended it for many years to not just me and her other friends, but like just the world on her Twitter. So go follow her as well. Follow her and Gene, and just give them all the support they need right now, because I know this show touched a lot of people very deeply.
Yeah, that was a good video essay she did when it got canceled. That was a very tough week.
I bet.
Video essay, I would recommend that as well.
Link down below, of course, to that. So I will be here to talk about the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance, and then we're going to talk about just other shows that got canceled that maybe we kind of haven't given the time of day to, or just kind of bummed us out, because it's not fun to get invested in something and then have someone tell you we're not doing that anymore.
Yeah, it's all these dumb corporate entities like Time Warner or Netflix.
Yeah. Also, the Nielsen rating system is a scam. It's just as much a scam as Pivot to Video. Everyone remember that? That destroyed like literal businesses and like livelihoods. So we don't have time to get into all that. But anyways, I think the rating viewer system is like one of the biggest scams in like American history. But
I was gonna say, moment of silence though for your boy Hup.
Yeah, Hup. I don't get to see what happened. So for those that don't know, the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance is a prequel to the Dark Crystal film, and the Dark Crystal film is kind of about the aftermath of a genocide and the toll it's taken on the ecosystems and environment, and it's about what individuals do to maintain power at the expense of the world around them. It's also a little slow. You have to be into like the real hardcore fantasy stuff, I'll completely admit that, to really appreciate the film. The show is shockingly violent. And I'm not saying this because like I think it's cool. I think it goes to show that even stuff aimed at younger viewers, like I think the real quality entertainment and art understands that younger viewers can actually handle stuff. There might be actually a moment or two in the show that's like you probably didn't need to go that far. Specifically in the last episode, if you guys have seen it, there's a moment it's hard to miss where you're just like, yeah, that was probably just too much. But the show is pre-genocide. So the showrunners had it all planned out, I guess, where like the plan was to show that like not all was lost in the intervening time between the series and the film, but it'll still get pretty dark. But now, because there is no second season and the film is about the last of the Gelflings, it doesn't really bode well for the characters that we come to know and love in the series. So I guess they just all die. But the series itself is still, I think, one of the crown jewels of Netflix and younger viewer entertainment, like bar none.
Yeah, well, I was going to say the Jim Henson sort of puppetry as well.
Yeah, the great Jim Henson and Frank Oz, they co-directed the film.
Right.
They deserve all the credit in the world. You know, Jim Henson's no longer with us, but the series just totally got what made the film special, and like the themes and ideas and the adventure aspect of it, and also that, like, I think a missing component to a lot of younger fantasy-based stuff is that, like, you know, even Star Wars has this where it's like, yeah, you know, like Luke Skywalker wants to go on the great adventure, but you can't just go on the adventure like that. That journey comes at, like, often a great cost, like in his relationships and his personal life and his physical capabilities at a certain point, you know. And I think the Dark Crystal series really understood that, because there is also like a Game of Thrones level body count by the end of the season, where it's just like, oh, like the cast would have been like drastically different the next year had it come back.
Yeah.
But it's just a very frustrating viewing experience, because the themes are very relevant to right now, unfortunately, which is maybe really depressing, because the movie was also very relevant when it came out in the 80s. Might be something to that there. Anyways, but it's also very inspiring, just like on an artistic level, but also in like the ideas that, you know, we all share the same world. We all share the same, like, future, should we be so lucky. And it's a very profound series, and I cannot recommend it enough. I recommended it since I saw it, and I am heartbroken that it will not return, but I'm glad it happened anyways. Someone's got to talk to Netflix about their axing of all these shows, though, because they're just relentless this year.
Yeah, they're really heartless. Fuck them.
I mean, no, fuck them. I mean, they're making Mank. They made Mank with David Fincher, and that looks like awesome. And The Five Bloods. So, like, you know, it's like, I mean, at the end of the day, they're a corporation. I'm not telling anyone to stand Netflix. It's, you know, capitalism bad. But, like, they got positives and negatives like every other heartless corporation.
Yeah. But I was gonna say, is Frank Oz involved? Because I want to start the show, but you know, just trying to finish some other things. But yeah, is Frank Oz involved in any capacity? I was curious.
I actually don't know. Let me check really quick, because I know they tried to make a sequel for years and it ended up becoming a comic book, I think, that's actually supposed to be pretty good, which is a sequel to the film.
Okay.
And so I actually heard it's pretty good. And because it was, like, at least I believe, somewhat marginally the same creators.
Okay.
But yeah, I heard it's pretty good. And I just think that's kind of neat, actually, that it's like you have a sequel in a different medium and now a prequel in technically a kind of different medium too, with television to movies to comic books. So I think that's just kind of that's so rare. And obviously it wasn't on purpose. It was just them trying to get anything from this universe made. But I just think it's kind of cool. I don't think Frank Oz is involved with the series, which is too bad. But I don't know. I think he's just kind of, he might just be kind of done trying to make things, you know. Maybe he's just going to act now. I don't have any proof of this. That's just my assumption. I know he had a hard time with the Muppet history. So
yeah, he's very vocal about the Muppets, which, you know, I mean, for the most part, he's pretty right. I would agree with him. Because I don't know. I watched a little bit of that Muppets Now, and there was like one or two funny segments. Actually, to be honest, there was a segment where Seth Rogen and Fozzie Bear are like interviewing, but then they're also like interviewing each other, but then also babysitting for some reason. And they're like trying to figure out how to babysit, and then the babies get knives and start fighting with knives.
Oh, so it's like that Vine when the mom's like, "Oh, what do you have there?" and the kid's like, "A knife."
Yeah, That's basically like that. So it's not to say it was inherently bad, but yeah, I could see his point about how they're using the Muppets for sure.
Yeah. That's too bad because I think did that also get canceled?
Muppets Now?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
All right. I'd feel like
Bob
we would
Iger
have
hates the
heard about
Muppets
it.
though.
I believe that.
He hates
Well, it's
them.
just no one. There's a whole thing we can go on about Disney and how like they need to appease everyone or they don't have any interest in it. That's why we
Yeah.
probably won't see any more Alien or Predator movies for a while.
Well, I was gonna say he hates Tron and he hates the Muppets.
Oh God, yeah, no, he's trying to kill Tron and bury it in a grave in the desert. If they're really going forward with that Jared Leto fucking one, like, who wants that?
I don't know.
If
Stupid,
you're watching this and
stupid
you want
people.
that,
You're
talk to
dumb.
someone, get help. You're better than that. You deserve better than that. I promise you. But anyway, speaking of things that are better than Jared Leto, let's talk about our favorite other canceled television shows. We also have some recommendations from the Twitter, so thank you to everyone who responded for that. The most common one is Hannibal. I think Brian Fuller's Hannibal is pretty well
Yeah.
known as being like kind of one of the sacred cows of canceled television. Although to
Would
be
it have?
fair, the ending is like still perfect. Every season had like an open-endedness of it, but also would perfectly work as like the end of that story. Because
Yeah.
it's kind of like a remix of the Hannibal Lecter mythology. But have you ever seen it yet, Gene? Like in full?
No, I haven't.
All right, you'll get a kick out of it if you check it out down the line because
Okay.
it's very bizarre. It might be like the true successor to like something like Twin Peaks, I think,
Hmm.
for regular television. Like, because
Okay.
I think people now find it a shock, and I definitely found it as a shock when it first aired. But it aired on NBC, not Showtime or HBO or even AMC. Just keep that in mind, and it makes the show even more exciting because you'll be like, how did they get away with that? Like they let them air that on school nights, like that's crazy. That's
Yeah, I don't
crazy.
know.
I think one of the tricks that this, I guess, a filmmaking tip for all the horror filmmakers out there as well, if you want to get a little gory, the trick is to dial down the color on the blood, make the blood dark, dark, dark. That's why the Lord of the Rings movies could have like orc decapitations because the orcs have black blood in those movies. And so for Hannibal, a lot of the blood is very, very dark, and the colors are very, very muted, so it doesn't look like off kilter and stuff like that. Because if it's like bright red, then the censors will be like, "Hey, we can't have this on the show. This is America." But yeah. Also, there's a kaleidoscope sex scene, which is pretty great. It's
Do you,
it's
do you,
amazing.
do you think they would have gotten Ellen Page as Clarice though?
If it had been revived on Netflix, yes.
Okay.
Although Brian Fuller said also that he was also considering making Clarice Starling black because that adds a whole other context into the mythology of that character, like a young black cop from the South. Like, what is that like? Like that changes the bearings on the character in ways that I think would be very rich to explore, and not just like because they're relevant, but like that obviously would allow them to explore another angle of Hannibal Lecter's like manipulation.
Yeah.
Because the whole show, Hannibal Lecter, Hannibal Lecter, he manipulates like everyone just to see what happens, and so I think that would make her a very compelling foe for him as well. And I don't think he would reiterate the ending of their story like it is in the book, which
Oh
is
yeah. It's gross.
yeah, it's just weird. I kind of get what the book was going for, but it doesn't really work at all.
No, I don't like it.
I don't. I'm not a fan either. But yeah, Hannibal. That's one of the big ones. But Gene, do you have another show you'd like to
Yeah.
recommend for people that was canceled?
Yeah. I was gonna add one because it was back in sort of the Twitter sphere recently was Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes.
That's right. Yeah. So you saw the Twitter thread, right?
Yes, I did. I read all the Christopher Yost like posted a whole like thread of where the third season would have gone for the 10th anniversary. And he wrote like a cold open to the season 3, and he wrote like a fictional season 3. I mean, these are more or less what they would have done with where the series was headed. It's going to have more of the Asgardians and Ragnarok, and it would have had the X-Men, which would have been cool. But yeah, that's one of my favorite shows. I think it's like Marvel's Justice League, the 2000s cartoon, which had a lot of it was an animation show, but it had a lot of depth to it, like your Avatar.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I feel like that for Avengers Mightiest Heroes, where again it goes back to the evilness of Jeff Loeb, where he really tried to destroy the series, and then he had the goal to cancel it and replace it with another show, which is not good. Avengers Assemble, which is terrible, subpar animation. But yeah, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, I love it. It's it's just it's a universal sort of, it's all ages, but they have serious storylines where characters die or there's a lot of stakes, and just the way they use like the characters is just so interesting. Like Cap, I think it's up there with how they use it in the MCU. And yeah, I would really recommend that if you're a Marvel fan. Maybe it's been some Marvel movies.
I would definitely agree with that. To hop off your Marvel one, I'm gonna go over to Spectacular Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Is that one?
I was gonna say they're apparently in the same universe. Is kind of what's been speculated.
I know. Well, I think you even told me this one, but I'll repeat it for the audience too. That like they were gonna have the Spectacular Spider-Man join up in the Avengers, but then they replaced him with Drake Bell because they had that show in production after Spider-Man, the Spectacular Spider-Man got canceled, and like that's just like heartbreaking.
Yeah,
because Spectacular Spider-Man is like one of the definitive Spider-Mans. Like it's like the Raimi and Spectacular Spider-Man. That's just kind of like the peak of it. I'd put obviously Spider-Verse and Homecoming like up there as well. Homecoming a little lower, but that's not his fault. It's kind of everyone knows what I think about that. But no, Spectacular Spider-Man is terrific. There's like these mini arcs that kind of play out like movies almost, where it's like here's a standalone episode, but it like flows both naturally and accessibly into the next one. And then by the end of like every 3 to 4 episodes, you're like, oh, we were watching like an arc about biology, or here's an arc about the theater, because it's a Spider-Man in high school for people that don't know. And so every couple episodes they were structured to be able to repackage them and sell them as like DVDs, right? Like I don't know if people remember or if they even still do this, but like they wouldn't sell entire season packages for kids shows. They would sell individual DVDs and VHS, well, not so much VHS by that point, but like to distributors to market for kids to watch like that. And then eventually they do the seasons. Yeah. And so that was like the goal for this. And I guess there was like a 5-season plan and even a plan to go on for after college. And it's just like, it's so heartbreaking that didn't get to happen.
Yeah. I was just like, in between their first and second season, they switched networks too. It was on Kids WB, and then it goes to like Disney Plus because of the Marvel merger with Disney. It had so much stacked against it.
I know. It's such a bummer. That's the one I'd really like to see come back, and I don't need it to. Like I've made my peace with its cancellation, but like man, that could have been like the definitive Spider-Man story had it been able to continue. I think
I was gonna say, I don't get how there's like this huge drive for X-Men the animated series, which was a good show in the 90s for sure, but it has like its own ending. Like it got to wrap up. It's all its storylines, and they're like seriously considered like giving that another season, but they don't want to give it to Avengers or Spectacular Spider-Man. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the deal is with that. Like, maybe those shows are just too good for them to bring back.
Yeah. That's
my conspiracy theory. They know that they can't top it, and they're like, we can't do that. We have to bring back another X-Men cartoon.
Yeah.
That. There you go. Everyone likes the 90s. Watch, this is gonna happen. They're gonna bring back the 90s Spider-Man cartoon. And then at that point, I'm just gonna have to jump. I
I
will
was gonna
jump
say
off the
I
building.
like that cartoon for what it was, like growing up on it, but like that one has some serious flaws to it actually, where it doesn't punch anyone, you
Oh,
know.
I'm fine with that. No,
All these like
you know what?
all the,
I'll go to bat for that because I've heard that complaint about the MCU Spider-Man 2, and I'm like, no, that's
Sally fights.
fine.
No, but like they go to such great lengths to like he could kick, you know, and he just can't punch. But um, I was gonna say, and also like all the cops have like laser weapons. They have like these Star Wars blasters because they can't show
Hmm.
real guns for the networks on Fox Kids.
That was always pretty funny to see on those shows, though.
Yeah,
Oh, you know, this will be the last animated series I bring up because there's some other ones I want to get to
sure.
in the comments. But like the Godzilla sequel to the '90s movie,
Oh yeah, that was a good show.
that's a good Godzilla show. That's
Mhm.
like it totally balances out the monster action with like the human component,
Yeah,
and it's not like a mind bending drama with the character stuff. It's just like I don't know. It's kind of like the platonic ideal of a Godzilla show in America, in the United States. Like it's got a nice balance, and that's kind of unfortunate that some people have had struggles with that since.
yeah.
Although we are on record for being fans of the last three Godzilla movies that were in live
Mhm.
action.
Yeah.
Let's see what else we got here, Gene. Indica Luna, Broad City. I don't know if Broad City was actually canceled because I only saw a couple episodes, but I like that show. So if Broad City was canceled, I'm sorry. If it wasn't, that's okay too. Um, let me see what else. Okay. From Billy Jarrett. Uh, this is for you, Gene. Evil Dead.
Oh
Ash
yeah,
versus Evil Dead.
that ends on a cliffhanger. That was disappointing.
I just started watching it from the beginning again because I had only seen the pilot. That's a really fun show.
Yes, yeah. It really captures Ash Williams so well.
Yeah, and you know what? It reminds me of why I love Sam Raimi so much. I know he only like directed the pilot, right? Everything
Mhm.
else after him is someone else, but like Sam Raimi is just such a quality filmmaker. Like I don't think he gets his credit as just being a dude who clearly loves movies and like television shows.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I don't think people really like think about this as much as you or I do. And that's totally fine. They have more important bullshit in their lives to worry about anyways, probably. But like, I don't know, you don't always need something to be like a super serious, like laser focused narrative. Sometimes it's just fun to watch a fight scene play out while a flashlight spins around on the floor for like 3 minutes to add like tension and momentum to the fight scene, right? That happens in the pilot, and it's so awesome. It doesn't even matter that it's basically stupid. It's just awesome.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I really like the show, and I can't wait to be disappointed that it also ends on a cliffhanger.
Oh yeah. Oh,
You got any other shows, or should I just run through the bottom ones that we got here?
I was gonna add Daredevil because yeah, it got canceled too soon, I think. But you just left the room.
Yeah, Daredevil rules. That last season specifically, that was
Yeah, that was great, and then they couldn't give it one more. They really couldn't, I guess.
I know it's.
Too good.
I know everyone's very excited for the Marvel shows, and considering where I am with the franchise, I am actually kind of excited for at least a handful of them too.
Hmm.
But God damn it, that deserved one more season. It doesn't need it. It does end on like one little like tease for the villain of next season for those that haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
You don't have to like any of it. Just watch the third season. Just get there, and you'll be like, "Oh, this is why Diego likes it." And I'll be like, "Fuck yeah, I told you all, idiots."
Yeah.
No, but yeah, that really needed more. I would say Luke Cage too. Jessica Jones, I wouldn't actually say. Not just because the quality dip, but just like the narrative is like kind of done for that character by the last season. But Luke Cage ends on like a killer Godfather style cliffhanger that I really would have liked to see play out more. Okay, on the subject of superheroes, our friend Christopher at Aguiar Fiction, Heroes. He says, I know it turned into the weirdest, most incomprehensible garbage, but I miss some of those characters.
Yeah.
I agree.
We had a fun time watching that in high school.
We sure did. And I was like, no, it'll get better again. Oh, you fool. Younger Diego, you had no idea. And Marco A. Diaz also has another recommendation, Pushing Daisies. Brian Fuller's Pushing Daisies. Have you seen that? Are you familiar with that one?
I'm familiar with it.
Okay. Killer shows. Kind of like if Dr. Seuss did like a crime procedural about a dude who could bring back people from the dead by touching them. But if he touches them again, they stay dead forever. And so the pilot is about solving a murder, yada, 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 right? And he brings back to life his childhood sweetheart. And, they're falling in love, but like, that's kind of the arc of the show in a way, is that they're in love, but they can't physically be together or else it'll be over forever. And so it's a really wonderful show. Lots of heart, lots of Brian Fuller weirdness. Shout out to Brian Fuller, the king of canceled television, apparently. But yeah, that was a great one. And for me, I also want to recommend Terriers, which has only one season, and it is the best private detective show like to ever air in post 2000s. I'll say.
Right. I was gonna say I used to like make fun of you or something. I'm like, why is it called Terriers?
Because they're underdogs, Gene. They're underdogs.
To be like the running joke or something.
Yeah. And I've gotten a handful of people to watch it. It was on Netflix for a couple years, and then they took it down. And I would honestly just recommend The Blind Buy on iTunes. It's totally worth it. It's kind of like Chinatown by way of Ocean's 11. Without it gets a little dark too, but like there's not the my sister, my daughter moment is what I'll say from Chinatown. It doesn't go there, but there is some like dark shit, but it's also just about dudes who really fuck up a lot, and what it's like at not in your twilight years quite, but like, it's middle-aged guys who kind of still act like younger versions of themselves, and why that's not healthy, and the struggle they have to basically just pay rent from time to time, and also just try to make themselves a little bit better along the way. And there's an overarching mystery about land deals and all this great film noir shit, but filmed with like this kind of almost like soap opera-esque lighting, but it adds like this different texture to it. It's so cool. It's such a cool show. Rian Johnson directed an episode, so there you go. Deep cut for all you Last Jedi fans out there. Not for the haters though. You can go away. Yeah, Terriers. That's one of the best shows of the last decade, and it's wonderful. And I would die for a sequel season, but it also doesn't need it. It's a one and done on its own terms, and it's terrific. And on that note, I think, let's see, did we get them all? Oh, okay. Dead Like Me and Hannibal from our friend at Call Me Matt 88. I haven't seen Dead Like Me. I think that was like Brian Fuller's first show, and people were a big fan of it. And from A to Z, which I know nothing about, but it starred Kristen Milotti from How I Met Your Mother and The Wolf of Wall Street. And I guess Palm Springs, right? She was in Palm Springs.
Yeah, she's in that. She's great.
I haven't seen Palm Springs yet, but I'm a big fan of hers. I'm glad she's kind of getting a little renaissance.
She's in Venture Brothers.
Really?
Yeah, in the last season.
Good for her. Oh, sorry. Maybe she's also the kind of the queen of canceled television then.
Maybe.
Sorry, ma'am. But no, she's good. All these shows are good. I recommend them all. And it's a bummer that some of them don't stick around. But Gene, on that note, any final shows or any final plugs you want to give us before we head out?
I was going to recommend Veronica Mars, which got canceled in the movie and then revived.
I thought about that too, because it got canceled, like you said, movie. Right. Revived. Is it canceled again?
No, I don't know. I mean, no one knows if they're going to do another season. Who knows? I mean, all the COVID. But I was going to say, I wish they got like a fourth season, like when it was on the UPN or what have you, or CW. Because that would have been great. And then they never resolve that storyline or mention it again.
Yeah, I don't know, because like not to spend too much time on it because we got to wrap up, but like that third season is so different because it doesn't really have the overarching story.
Yeah.
And then they reveal at the end it kind of did all this time, which was actually I thought very impressive. Like that season 3's got problems, but like that last like act, the last movement of that season is like so good,
right?
That I would have loved to have seen another one to continue that, but
yeah,
I don't know. I like the movie.
Yeah,
but
movie's great. So,
yeah.
Well, very fan servicey, I will say.
Oh yeah, totally. And I think that's okay, you know, because they're like, we want to give them what they came for, because the fans. I mean, that was the first like big movie Kickstarter, right?
Yeah.
They
exactly.
like, so the fans really did make that movie happen. Like they literally made that happen.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and then the last season was pretty good. The way it ended was really bittersweet. I think I was crying, but
we have to have a Veronica Mars episode or something at some point, because I like that season.
Yeah.
And I like where it ends up. I don't like, I'll say, the movement of how they got to there. There's a very specific movement that I think people are aware of for the fan base, but I'll leave it at that because I think it's still worth checking out.
Sure.
Yeah, on that note, plugs, Gene.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram, Gene9892.
And you could follow me at Twitter at the Dago Creswell, and check out the Waffle Press on Twitter, YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, and Patreon, where you can get access to earlier episodes of other stuff we're going to talk about. Avatar: The Last Airbender retrospective, maybe a little sneak peek at the movie retrospective if we recorded it already. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? And other stuff. I don't know. Gene, what else do we come up with? We should do more stuff.
We'll see.
I don't know what else we should do. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. Check out the Patreon because you'll be the first ones to know. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We have been professionally unprofessional.